Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is Thursday, September 18th, and thank you so much for being here. I do the show every day. Be sure to like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Trying to grow the channel, send the links to your friends. A lot of stuff to go over, so we will just dive right into it. Antifa has been declared a terrorist organization, a domestic terrorist organization. And my first reaction was, what in the hell took so long? What took so long? They are a definition of a terrorist organization. That's what they do. That's their whole purpose. They commit violence against people they don't like because of their politics or now religion. Recently, they attacked some Christian gathering in a park. I think it was in Portland and Washington. This is what they do. So they don't like what you have to say, or they don't like your faith. And instead of debating you or peacefully protesting, they want to use violence. They use intimidation. I I guess I first noticed them around 2015, 2016 when I went to various events and Trump had events. And there was this group, they were all dressed in black and they were very well organized and they would try to intimidate people. And it started, I remember in California, there was a famous picture, if you guys remember that, a blonde lady, she was going to a Trump event and she got pelted with eggs. But eggs quickly left, and then it escalated into bricks. That's what started to happen. And if you remember, during the George Floyd riots, Antifa was out there, and somehow pallets of bricks would just arrive for them to be able to do their thing, throwing bricks at police officers, anyone they don't like. They're supposed to be anti-fascism. It's a weird thing because if they don't like what you say, they want to kill you, and they're supposed to be anti-fascist. And they determine who's a fascist. Basically, if you don't believe what they believe in, you are a fascist and you're worthy of death. They don't believe in debate or anything like that. This is their whole purpose. This is what they're about. And we saw that continuously. Remember the Summer of Love, George Floyd, not only BLM, but Antifa engaged in a lot of terrorism, murders, attack people, firebombing, and it's just escalated and escalated. Now, it kind of went on a pause when Joe Biden got in because of optics, because again, the street level Antifa types back in 2015, 2016, they were mostly kind of meth heads. That was the typical demographic. And they were controlled by higher up people. They were given protection. Because I always thought back then, how do you do that? How do you be part of a group where you engage in firebombing, you throw bricks at people for wanting to exercise their First Amendment rights, all sorts of civil rights violations? And that's a textbook definition of terrorism. You're using physical force because against people you don't like because of their politics or their religion. And they hate Christians and they hate, I would say they hate conservatives, but they hate even liberals. They're just gone insane. But under Biden, it kind of paused because the people that funded them up high, the George Soros, those type of people, they put that on a limit because they knew it'd be bad optics for the Democrats. And the local Democrats, usually the Soros funded district attorneys, they had a deal that they wouldn't really prosecute these people or just a slap on the wrist. Very well organized. And if you see them, they all have matching outfits, they all have shields. Sometimes they use umbrellas a lot, black umbrellas. That's a tactic they learn to try to hide from the cameras when they're committing crimes. And they frequently carry skateboards because they can use a skateboard as a weapon, plausible deniability. And they meet in Discord and they plan this all out. It's very well organized. And I remember in the debate with Trump and Biden, Biden said, "Oh, Antifa is just an idea." Well, that'd be like saying, 50 years ago, the KKK is just an idea. No, it is a real organization. The pallets of the bricks, they just don't happen to end up there. This requires some organization. So then it kind of calmed down during the Biden era. And now they were probably trying to start up again. But Antifa has really changed, interestingly. in interesting ways over the past 10 years. Because you got to figure, since 2016, it's almost been 10 years. It makes me feel old. It just seems like yesterday. But a lot of the people that were part of Antifa, the meth heads, a lot of them are, they overdosed by now, or they aged out of it. They're in their early 20s. Now they're pushing 30 or a little over 30. But the new generation has been really strange, is way disproportionate transgender or people into weird furry type of sex. That's where they want to have sex with animals, just all sorts of really extreme LGBTQ perversion. And that's sort of been the core right now of what makes up Antifa. So in 2016, it was more of the skinny white kid from Portland, trying to act like he supports Stalin, may have a meth addiction, and now it's some dude wearing a dress and screaming at you, you better call me ma'am, you better get my pronouns right, that type. So it's really kind of interesting how that changed. But the whole time, obviously, it was a terrorist organization. They weren't there to, let's get together and let's make placards and let's protest a meeting. Now, that wasn't their whole thing. Their whole thing was about violence. That's why they always wore masks. And if we take a look at this, Donald Trump, his statement on this. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I'm designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical leftist disaster as the Marist terrorist organization. I will strongly recommend that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, some people are saying this is mostly symbolic, but it goes beyond symbolism. In the United States never bans organizations. As long as you're not violent, you're allowed to be a communist, you're allowed to be a Nazi, you could be whatever you want. And that's the great thing about America. But you can't implement violence. That's the key thing. So you're okay to be an Antifa, but not if you're part of a group that participates or organizes violence. And that is 100% what Antifa does. Because if they didn't engage in violence, there's really no purpose of them. They're just like liberals then. They could go out and protest, carry signs, and wear the pink pussy hats or whatever the liberals do, or the handmaiden's tail dress, whatever the typical liberals do to get attention. But that's not Antifa. They're about violence. That's their whole point. So they don't have a point unless it's violence and terrorism. And so this does have an effect, though. One thing now, they're on the FBI's radar, whereas previously, even under Trump's first administration, sadly, he didn't have as good of control of his administration back then, but definitely under the Biden administration, the left-wing activists that engaged in violence, these type of groups, the FBI ignored. They were given a free pass. So these people became very emboldened. All the FBI resources were directed at, evil white nationalists. So all the informants, all the resources went into infiltrating so-called white nationalist groups. I think it frustrated them because they really couldn't find much violence. Because the people on the right don't engage in this type of violence. I can't think of any time people on the right, for example, said, hey, there's someone speaking at a hotel, some left-wing person, whoever, Hillary Clinton is speaking at a hotel. So what we're going to do, we're going to call in a bomb threat. And if that doesn't work to make them cancel, we're going to threaten the employees that we will attack them unless they cancel this event. And then if the event still goes on, we'll show up in masks and throw rocks at the people trying to get into the event. I've never heard that happen on the right. That just doesn't happen on the right whatsoever. This is all left-wing does it. And by the way, you hear this bullshit, there's more right-wing crimes than left-wing violence. And you look at the source, it's like the fucking ADL. The ADL, they help sponsor a lot of this bullshit. It's like, oh yeah, of course, according to their numbers. So how they come up with their numbers? If there's a left-wing violence, they say, that's not left-wing violence because we support it. So it's not left-wing violence. So it's easy to make the numbers show that because they're part of it. They're part of this whole thing. I would say they're high up. They encourage us. They call everything. Like if you think you want to stop immigration because you want to have your identity, they consider that Nazism. They support all this. They were the big. If you go up the higher up the chain, you have the ADL, SPLC. They could be attacked with RICO under this, along with Soros. So of course they're going to say that, but it's bullshit. Almost all the political violence in this country is from the left. All the intimidation. If you're a left wing, you can go to a conference. No one's going to throw bricks at you. There's not going to be bomb threats called in. But if you're on the right wing, pretty much every time that's what happens. So now, because this is designated as a terrorist organization, it opens a lot up for Trump. They can have the FBI monitoring these people. And then when they do their bullshit, like they call in bomb threats to the hotel or hosting an event of someone they don't like, or they organize, let's say, okay, we're going to show up with bricks and throw bricks at people trying to get into the event. Well, now the FBI can infiltrate that and arrest these people for serious crimes, because those are serious crimes, and they could go to jail for 20 years. So there's been a big crackdown on this. And you could say that Tyler Robinson, who's accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, was he part of an Antifa group? I have no evidence that he was part of a group, but he was definitely influenced by them in the discords. That guy was into all sorts of weird stuff. He was into their philosophy of engaging in violence if you don't like someone because of their politics or religion. So that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And as another person said that I have said, a little kind of reiterating here, let's take a look at this guy. And this is DC Drano. To be honest, it's completely unacceptable that Antifa has been allowed to exist this long. It really is. I don't care if it's your Democrat or Republican, having an organization that's dedicated to terrorism. And I would think if you got Antifa, they would agree they're terrorists. I mean, that's what they do. They engage in violence. That's their whole purpose. They wear black uniforms with face masks and shields. They have centralized communications, recruitment, policies, and financing. They do. They have a team of lawyers. They organize everything. They have people, for example, before an event, drop a pallet of bricks so it's ready. They have their lawyers in charge ready, and they have it all set up. And they plan in Discord. And this is what they are. This is a terrorist organization. So I think this proclamation by Trump is more than symbolic. And also what can happen if you're part of one of these organizations, and the United States government can put pressure on banks and social media to ban these people. These people can be put on watch list if they fly, or banned from flying. So their life could become very difficult real quick. And it's interesting because all this stuff used to just happen to people on the right. Now the left wing is starting to experience it, and they don't like it one bit. And we're supposed to be boo-hoo for them, but it's good to see that. It's good to see this. And just an example, here was some video of some Antifa in Portland. It's just not people. It's just not an idea or people randomly getting together. So here they are. They organize events. So they bring shields and they bring weapons to people, usually where they're protesting. Let's say if there's Christians that are having a celebration or a prayer meeting, they will show up with weapons and shields and bricks. And now in the case of Tyler Robinson, bullets. They've always threatened to assassinate people. And now we've gotten to that point, and now the hammer's coming down hard upon them. So good news about that. All right. The second major story is Trump is in Britain. He was invited by Starmer for a state visit. I think Starmer wants to try to butter up Trump because of Ukraine. Starmer, like a lot of the Western European people like Macron, Merz in Germany, they don't give a shit about their people. They're just fixated about fighting Russia. That is their single fixation. They're people they don't give a shit about. They're fine bringing in millions of third world foreigners to rape and kill the children of their homeland. They don't give a shit at all. And in fact, if the children, like happened in Scotland, have to get knives to protect themselves, they're going to arrest the kids. So they actively hate their own people. But Starmer wanted to get Trump in because he knows Trump is, the word is, he's susceptible to flattery. So if you flatter him, give him the visit to the king, maybe they can convince Trump to continue to fund Zelensky and that corrupt war. I think that was the whole reason behind it. Now, Starmer is having a lot of scandals in his own labor government now. We're Americans, so we don't follow that much, but he's having a lot of issues. He's not very popular now in Britain. Tommy Robinson had a huge rally the other day, hundreds of thousands of people there. It really shook the British establishment, and they're in disarray as it is. But they brought Trump in, hoping to butter him up to try to get on board with their war with Ukraine. And I like Trump. Trump went and he didn't shy away. And one of the things Trump talked about here was immigration and how it destroys a country.
And I think your situation is very similar. You have people coming in, and I told the prime minister I would stop it. And it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within.
That's an important point. Bringing in people that aren't compatible with your people. And compatibility, there's a lot of criteria. Obviously, if they're of the same race, they're more likely to be compatible. If they tend to be of the same religion, they're likely to be more compatible. If they speak the same language, if the same culture, that makes it easier. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, and you can sometimes get over the language barrier. But when there's wild genetic differences in behavior, that just doesn't work. And this has always been the model of the open society and various groups like the ADL. They've encouraged all these white countries, flood them with Africans and people from the Middle East. So there's no longer going to be white majority countries because that makes us safer for our ethnic group. We don't want a Nazi Germany. So this has been a plan to displace the people in all Western countries. And this is a threat to Britain. Russia is not a threat to Britain. Russia is not going to invade Britain. It'd be better for Britain if Russia did invade. Honestly, it really would. Because right now, Britain's own government is importing people to destroy the British people. And it's going to be very difficult to get those people out. But they need to get out.
And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very bad hand.
It is bad. And these evil people like Soros know that. They think, if we bring these people in, they're in. How they're going to get them out? Well, there are ways to get them out, and we're starting to do that, and we'll need to do that. Britain will need to do the same. I don't give a shit about citizenship or anything like that. That's a piece of paper. We're talking about nationhood. A nation is a people related by blood that has similar cultural values. It's not a piece of paper. So if you're not one of us, you shouldn't be here. And that's what the British people will have to understand. That's what the Germans will have to understand. That's what the French will have to understand, or they'll lose their country. Their country will become a third world shithole. And Britain's already pretty much that way right now. It's a sad situation.
Millions of people came in from prisons and mental institutions. We have to remove them. And we are removing them. We have no choice. And I feel very strongly about it.
And Britain definitely has the same issue. And hopefully Trump is trying to use his position to warn people about what's happening with immigration. And Britain is in a very sad situation about free speech. It's very difficult for British patriots. If you fly the English flag, you could go to jail. If you object to being attacked by a third world immigrant, you could go to jail. If you say something the British government doesn't like, you'll probably go to jail. These are the countries in the world of people that have how many arrests for online comments in 2023. Britain, they always call Belarus a dictatorship, but Britain is like double that. Britain is a small country, it really is, geographically and even population-wise. wise. But look how this is just crazy, right? It's just, there's no freedom of speech in Britain. It's basically North Korea tier at this point. I really feel bad for the British people. My ancestry is English and Scottish and Welsh, and I feel bad for the people there because it's my ancient homeland, and they're living under a tyranny now. Hopefully, they can break free for that. And I'm glad that Trump had the guts to talk about what was happening there. And as Trump knows, because we have a problem here as we see this, and Trump brought up how we have people that are not compatible with America. For example, we brought in all these Somalis. I don't know why the hell well, I know why they were brought in. They were brought in as a weapon against our people. And they dumped a lot of them in Minnesota. And now they elect people like IIhan Omar. She has no connection to America. We don't have any shared values. She shouldn't even be in this country. And Trump has just declared that IIhan Omar needs to be removed from Congress. I agree with that, but I agree more. She needs to be removed from the country. She got in by marrying her brother or something weird like that. And as we see the problem Minnesota's having, they run all these scams. And Minnesota used to be a really nice white liberal state, Minneapolis especially. Now here's a breaking. Department of Justice charges 8 people in multi-million housing fraud schemes. This is to get, welfare for housing. These people embezzled it. If you look at the name here, Abdu Taf Mon Mohammed, Allah Wanda Maldi Falde, Mukhtar Hassan Aden. Okay, no, they don't belong here. All right, they shouldn't have been let in the first place. And if you bring in the third world, you're going to get third world behavior. And that is what's happening right now. All right. I guess a Charlie Kirk update. Oh, this has to do with more his accused killer, Tyler Robinson. It just gets weirder and weirder. And alleged Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson played furry porn video games online. I don't know, man. I'm not years ago. I used to play World of Warcraft, right? I didn't know there's this sort of thing online. But the whole LGBTQ movement has become more and more extreme. It used to be, hey, we're just like heterosexuals. We just want to be left alone. Who cares what we do in the privacy of our own bedroom? Well, it's not like just heterosexuals. It's a very different. And it just got more and more extreme with weird behavior, the whole trans thing. But now these people have even gone beyond trans, although his lover was trans, but they're more than that. Now they're into having sex with animal fantasies. And this is what the furry thing is where they pretend they're animals having sex with each other. So they combine the homosexuality with trans because if you can change your so-called gender from male to female, why can't you change your species? And so they're all into that sort of stuff. So this is someone, Tyler Robertson, if he grew up when I grew up, there's no way he would have ended up like this. It's absolutely no way. We just didn't have this degree of perversion and degeneracy on such a wide scale. Did it exist sometimes in weird subcultures, let's say in some seedy basement in some drag queen homosexual thing in San Francisco? Yeah, maybe. But it wasn't everywhere. Now, everywhere, some kid in Utah can get online, get into Reddit, see transgender porn, and they get into animal sex and all this other weird stuff. And then he just spirals. And instead of shutting this down, all this stuff should be shut down. It should be illegal. There's a reason we limit this type of behavior. There's a reason that sodomy was illegal, that we didn't tolerate this stuff. We're starting to see the reason for it. It affects society. It breaks people. And this guy went down deeper and deeper and deeper. And so this is what happens. And getting back to Antifa, again, back a decade ago, the average Antifa guy was maybe on meth or dealt meth. Now they're into this weird trans, furry, let's pretend we're having sex with animal type of stuff. And I guess he liked this game, Furry Shades of Gay 3, where homosexual animals have sex with each other. So this is where we are now. and he just went down this horrible route and getting into the Antifa culture about everyone's a fascist, they deserve to die, and unless you affirm that his boyfriend that was pretending to become a girl, maybe pretending to be some sort of animal or horse, God knows what all, then you're the bigot and you need to die because you need to be affirming of their lifestyle. After all, they can't help it. They're born this way. They're born wanting to pretend they're a horse that wants to fuck a pig. They're born that way. That's science, bigot. This is where we are right now. All right. The last thing to talk about is Kimmel. He was suspended. His show, I think he'll be back. He'll come back a hero. But right now he's suspended because he made the comment that the Tyler Robinson was a MAGA person, and that was a lie. And the FCC prohibits broadcasting false information about a crime or a catastrophe if the broadcaster knows the information is false and will cause substantial public harm if aired. And the left now, they're crying about, oh, free speech. Yeah, well, fuck you. Fuck you, right? Where were you when Biden and his administration was pressuring Twitter and YouTube to ban people when they talked about COVID? Yeah, where the fuck were you? You didn't give a shit about it. We on the right have totally been facing this where you get debanked, you get kicked off platforms, everything. Whereas the left never did this, right? The left, they could call for murder and YouTube was fine with it. As long as you called for murder against whites, YouTube was fine with it. Twitter was fine with it. But oh, well, if you bring up crime statistics, watch out. You could get banned for being racist on the right. Well, now that's changed a lot. And some people on the left, they're starting to find out that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences. Isn't that what they always told us? And here's the thing. They're like, well, what about your principles? We're at war. These people are not Americans. This is how we have to look at it. They do not get these constitutional protections. This is how I look at it. We didn't give these protections to the Japanese in World War II or the Germans. We shouldn't give them to these people. And I'm tired of the cuckness of the typical conservative. And this has always been my whole life. So when the left is in power, they come down hard on the right. They censor our speech. They throw people in jail. They use the secret police, the FBI, to infiltrate, to frame evidence, the whole bit. But when we're in charge, oh, no, we're not supposed to do that. Then all of a sudden the left, oh, they want free speech. They want to be doing all this stuff. I'm like, well, fuck it, right? They started this war against us. They need to live by this. So if they engaged in this cancel culture for years, these people have, trying to ban people from Patreon, from Twitter, from YouTube, you name it, from banks, everything. And now it's coming back at them and they're squealing like a bitch and we're supposed to feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them whatsoever. And that's the way I feel about it. So good for that. I'm glad that he is. I don't care at all. All right. So that's been our top 5 stories of today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.